Artificial intelligence is one of the most exciting things you can hear about in tech or business today. Too often it seems to have this kind of spooky, mysterious reputation, like it's something that's going to be happening in the future. But you're already using machine learning all the time right now. You do a Google search, machine learning's in it. You look at a video on YouTube, there's machine learning going on somewhere in the process. You drive past a Tesla or maybe some other autonomous car, there's machine learning involved in that. You touch this all the time right now in your life. There's no doubt it's here, especially in the business world. For example, in a 2017 MIT report, 60% of businesses surveyed had already implemented an ML strategy, and nearly 1/3 considered themselves to be at a mature stage with their initiatives. So now the question becomes, how will you apply ML to your business advantage? And where do you start? Ask yourself questions like, what kind of data will I need? Where shall I think of applying this in my business? What kind of skills will my engineers need? Today, we're going to help you answer these questions. Welcome to our Google Cloud special report, Machine Learning Gone Mainstream. But before we jump in, I want to let you know how you can get involved in today's conversation. If you have any questions during the show, you can post on the Q&A section and a live Googler will be sure to answer. I'm Quentin Hardy, Head of Editorial at Google Cloud. And over the next 20 minutes, we'll distill the hype of machine learning into two parts. In the first part, we'll look at its current state. I'll sit down with Principal Research Scientist at MIT's Sloan School of Management, Andrew McAfee, along with the Chief Operating Officer of MIT's Tech Review, Elizabeth Branson-Boudreau. Then, we'll peek inside Google Brain and share the lessons learned from several businesses that have already implemented machine learning. But first, we must address what matters first and foremost in machine learning: data. Here's a quick take on how Google views the importance of data for machine learning success.
Data. It's the great differentiator in today's competitive landscape. Every day, your business pulls in huge quantities of it, from web interactions to inventory counts, diagnostic reports to consumer feedback. And then it sits, separated across systems, unstructured and disjointed. Being able to look out across all that data, connect the dots, and see the bigger picture is key to your company's success and survival. Machine learning gives you this ability, the chance to view your data in a whole new way. Instead of following code and commands, it learns from what you compile to find patterns and insights that not only make you smarter, but can revolutionize how your business runs. At Google, we use machine learning to optimize all our products, from real-time traffic in Maps, spam detection in Gmail, and facial recognition in Photos. And now, we've designed a platform especially for you. Predict when to ramp up production, know when your customers are ready to upgrade, diagnose new diseases with speed and accuracy. The more data you bring to it, the more unique insights you're given. The more opportunities you have to redefine how your enterprise runs. This is the future of how machines and people work together to transform how we all do business. The technology is here, and it's waiting for you. Will it make the difference for your enterprise?
So what matters most in your machine learning journey? How do you get started? You've got it, with the data. With the right amount of data, your business has the power to do amazing things. So let's discuss some of these incredible things and the current state of machine learning. Having traveled over 3,000 miles from Google headquarters to MIT's campus, I'm ready for my sit-down with Principal Research Scientist Andrew McAfee, along with MIT Tech Review's COO Elizabeth Branson-Boudreau. Both McAfee and Branson-Boudreau's work investigates how digital technologies impact business, industry, economics, and society. So Elizabeth, how do you see businesses getting started with ML?
I think the first thing, humbly, that we would recommend is take a look at the report that we've written about machine learning and how it's being implemented across enterprises globally. And what it'll show you is, in fact, that machine learning is being rolled out in a much more widespread fashion than perhaps you realized. So 60% of our respondents already implemented machine learning, and about 30% of them already consider themselves to be at kind of a mature stage of implementation. What's interesting is the way that they're getting started is probably pretty much expected areas. So that's image recognition, natural language processing, emotion and behavior analysis.
It's areas where they've captured a lot of data and it's non-traditional. So this non-traditional means of analysis is very appropriate to that. Another thing that struck me, though, was how quickly they found ROI inside this.
Yes.
The investments paid off so fast relative to other data experiments they'd done in the past.
That's right. In fact, 50% of the respondents said that they had already seen ROI. Those who have already said they are at an advanced stage of implementation. And those that are at an early stage, 50% of those respondents said that they had experienced an ROI.
So Andy, you go around the country and you see all kinds of startups and established businesses using this technology. What are some of the ways in which they think about it when they want to get started? What do they look for, and then what do they find?
There are a bunch of different goals in mind when companies start with this stuff. And like Elizabeth says, the early classic demonstrations of how powerful machine learning are had to do with things like image recognition and natural language processing. Now, a lot of companies have tasks that fall into that category. Is this a good part or a bad part? You can inspect that visually and get a yes or a no. Is this a ripe banana or an overripe banana? These are all image classification problems. They're really widespread in lots of different kinds of industry. But we're also seeing ML broaden out to get into things like customer service, to get into fraud detection, to get into all kinds of areas, anything really where it's very data rich and where you want to get a clear signal about something. Is this a fraudulent transaction or not? Is this customer about to churn, about to leave us or not? There's just no shortage of data-driven or data-intensive questions out there.
Elizabeth, I wanted to ask you, if I was a business just starting out, what were 2 or 3 things I could do to begin to explore machine learning?
I think the role of the C-suite and the data analysis professionals, those 2 divisions or camps, if you will, are going to need to come together. And I think in the most leading companies where this is already, well matured, those camps are very much, one. And we're going to see that happen in a much more broad way across the economy.
Since we don't live in a perfect world, there's going to be hazards, there's going to be pitfalls. Can you speak a little bit about what those might be and how people can avoid them?
So I think there's always the pitfall of feeling like this isn't the right time for us. There's so many other things we need to do first. Every organization says, well, I've got to get this first before I take on that. That feels like a big step that, if I could only just sort of tidy up where I am, get my data cleaner, it might be a good time for us to then launch into a big sort of scary exercise that feels quite different and might result in some sort of organizational change that I haven't fully got my head around. And I think that's a pitfall, because certainly you look out the companies, again, who are being more assertive and aggressive and leaderly in machine learning are seeing competitive benefits out of that.
And I think ML is really upsetting to the status quo in at least 2 different ways. It's upsetting to the people who have an old-fashioned view of data analytics. Also, I think even more fundamentally, it's upsetting to people who think that human judgment or human decision-making is the end-all and be-all and should guide the organization's important decisions. You asked about the pitfalls, right? If you put a bunch of biased data in, you will get biased answers out. For example, if you go Google scientist and do an image search, the image recognition system inside Google was trained on a bunch of images of scientists, and historically, our stereotypical scientist has been a middle-aged white guy. All right, that's probably not ideal. Where I take some confidence is that once we become aware that these systems are giving us biased outputs, we can actually change them. We can redirect, we can retrain them. I'm a lot more confident in the ability to overcome machine learning bias than I am in the ability to overcome human biases. Our biases are way deeply rooted. So what I conclude from that is success with machine learning is A, the gift that keeps on giving. You get good at one thing and you use that capability to broaden out and do more and more. And B, if you're not doing it, you're not giving up an incremental or some kind of marginal advantage. You're missing out on the next game in town.
But the mere possession of data isn't going to be special anymore, right? It's what you're able to then do with it, because
Right.
of course everyone is a data enterprise now.
Having access to machine learning algorithms and technologies is not a crazy advantage, because companies like Google are making their stuff available via the cloud,
Yep.
in many cases via open source software. For me, is the organization actually willing to be bold, to commit to being machine learning first, to getting the old processes out of the way, and then do more of that?
Elizabeth, Andy, thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Quentin.
Now that we've discussed the advantages and opportunities of machine learning, Let's dive into how you can get started. Next up is Josh Gordon, Google developer advocate and host of the YouTube series Machine Learning Recipes, to explain more.
So how can you get started with machine learning? Well, first I'll talk about a couple of options that are useful from a business standpoint, and then I'll cover open source and educational resources. The first thing I'd recommend you check out are a collection of machine learning APIs from Google Cloud Platform. And we offer APIs for tasks like vision, speech, and natural language processing, and even for video analysis. Let me show you a quick demo. Here's the Vision API, and I'll use it to analyze this picture of New York that I just took this morning. We can see the API provides labels like skyline, city, and metropolis, as well as a variety of other useful data, including safe search recommendations. Or we could use the Natural Language API to analyze the sentence, "I love NYC." And here we can see that it detects that NYC is a location, and we can also use it to analyze the syntax to find out that I is a pronoun and love is a verb. Now on the open source side, we have TensorFlow. And TensorFlow is a state-of-the-art deep learning framework that you can use to develop and deploy your own models. At Google, we use TensorFlow both for research and for production, and we've open sourced it so you can do the same. In addition to TensorFlow, Google Research has shared many open source models, like Parsimic Parseface and Inception, and they perform tasks similar to what you've seen in the APIs. On the education side, if you'd like to learn more about machine learning and have just a few minutes, I have a series of short videos you might like called Machine Learning Recipes. And if you'd like to dive deeper, I'd like to recommend 2 courses from Stanford that have great notes online. The first is called CS231N, and this is an introduction to neural networks. And the second is called CS20SI, and this is an introduction to TensorFlow. Thanks very much, and back to you, Quentin.
From language translation to diagnosing disease, machine learning has changed our way and our quality of life. In this next segment, we explore and learn from companies that have implemented machine learning with Google Cloud. You'll learn pitfalls to avoid, areas to focus on first, and what to expect on your road to machine learning. First up is USAA, a US-based Fortune 500 financial services group.
USAA is a financial services company for the military and their family.
One of the things that we've always been credited with doing was being really far out on the cutting edge. Our company was formed to insure folks who couldn't be insured. A number of years ago, we founded a research and development shop, just specifically focused on data science.
We've been supporting machine learning models in production for several years now. I think some of the initial challenges included just having project stakeholders and partners understand exactly what machine learning was.
And we had one group of folks who thought that what we had now was pixie dust. The question that comes up all the time is, does this learning surpass the benefit that I would get with just a traditional modeling and analytics approach? As you improve each one of these statistics, as you improve your efficiency or your cost savings or profit or revenue, you can prove how much this thing saved you. A lot of the early work that we did was around advertising, and a lot of the early work that we did was essentially making things based off of a single test statistic. So do I have more people clicking this today than yesterday? You know, every day I should be able to look at yesterday or be able to look at the original model and say, is it doing better? If the period of time goes down by a day, you know, I can see that we've shaved off an entire day off of the process.
If we can continue to evolve the applications that we're building based on the data that we're getting insights from, then we will constantly be creating these experiences that are new and delightful for our members.
Machine learning breeds technical debt. Traditional solutions, when you solve them in a business setting, you know, you release your code, version 1.0 is out there and it's done. And that's not the case in an ML application. 1.0 is out there and you're just starting. You've got to plan for a whole lot more compute than you were planning on having. You've got to plan for a whole lot more storage. You've got to plan for a whole lot more support. And you also have to plan that this is going to change, and it's going to change in very real ways, and the very first iteration of it might not be the thing that you're willing to show to your customers. Most folks, including us, start off building their machine learning solutions off of the beautiful, wonderful little data warehouse where everything's perfect data, and then realize they've got to get that to production where everything's messy. And those learners break the first day, and you start all over a lot. And so starting with the operational data and starting with infrastructure that allows for you to use the operational data at a higher frequency that's your solution. It's the best place to start.
So some of the advice that I would give companies starting their ML journey includes making sure that you have strong business objectives and goals for the ML project. Where are you going to integrate this prediction? What do you need to predict on? I think that if you're just trying to say, we have this product and we want to apply ML to it, you don't have enough specific goals in mind.
An approach that we have found useful, that we learned from Google, has been kind of a prioritization of how you solve things. And that doesn't mean you are going to try and solve everything with machine learning. The ML discipline, the stuff that's required for the ML discipline, makes you a better company, even if you don't go the machine learning route. The thing that I would argue is don't get so obsessed with the hype that you miss out on the benefit of becoming a fact-based, data-driven, member-focused company that machine learning requires you to be.
Thanks to USAA, we learned a little bit about what it takes to get started and what to avoid. Now, let's learn some of the quick wins and benefits you can experience. Here's financial investment analytics company Pluribus Labs.
Pluribus is a financial technology firm. We specialize in taking large data sets, whether it's structured or unstructured, and we combine it into an investable signal. Machine learning fits in absolutely everywhere in this business. Given the size of the data sets that we work with, being able to model nonlinearities using machine learning techniques is very important to us. And that's really at the heart of everything we do.
The way we use machine learning in our products is around detecting spam. We have trained our algorithm to detect if a tweet is relevant to what we want to do, or is it completely irrelevant?
Previously, one of the challenges we had was that we had to go, that the data was in one place. The algorithms were in a separate place. Just getting ready to work with the data was a challenge and was a good amount of work. However, the paradigm has changed in that there's so much more efficiency. We have a lot less lag time, in fact, no lag time, I would say, because the way we store data is always the same. It's either BigTable or BigQuery or one of the big data stores that GCP has. Everything is integrated now, from our research process to to delivering our signal to our clients. That entire pipeline is entirely on GCP now. When you run machine learning algorithms, there are some algorithms that tend to be very CPU intensive, but there are other algorithms that are not so CPU intensive, but are very memory intensive. Now, it's wonderful in that, we have small machines when we are just doing the prototyping, the very simple work, getting the code set up. And then when we need to run a big experiment, we can simply scale up the machine into something as large as we want, run our experiments that way, and then scale it down. It's just, that flexibility is very valuable to us.
The way we use GCP that has impacted us on an operational basis is around staffing. It allows us to focus really on what we do and not thinking about infrastructural issues, because we have people who are working at Google handling the infrastructural issues.
It's very important to leverage what's already out there, take it and run with it and see how far it takes you. And when you get to the end of that tether and you can't go any further, then you can start, innovating on the algorithms yourself.
On top of operational and cost-cutting benefits, companies that use ML have found improved customer loyalty and user experiences. Here's PwC to tell us how they use ML to better connect with customers.
My name is Andrew Scalar, and I work inside of our PwC Innovation and Ventures team here in Australia. The core point of our business is to take sort of cutting-edge technology and to deliver innovative solutions for our customers and for society that PwC lives and breathes within. PwC decided to use Google Cloud and machine learning, really born out of an understanding of both the market as well as an appreciation for the way that Google enriches their own knowledge in this space. Google Cloud takes both the knowledge base from its billions of users and takes the models that are generated out of the understanding coming out of multi-language support or optical character recognition or voice recognition, and it brings that into the enterprise space where you have a highly secured infrastructure that weighs off of an API that learns from all of that interaction, not to mention a pile of other things they do to enrich those algorithms that are happening in the background. The speed at which Google innovates, both their internal understanding and the capabilities they deliver out to the market, is a factor above what we're seeing in other areas of the market. So we're taking full advantage of the innovation that we're seeing coming out of Google, and we're delivering those benefits through projects and use cases and environments that we're standing up for them every day. In Australia, we've done a number of interactions with customers in the machine learning space. So largely in that voice prompted area, we've got from the telco market, got the ability to innovate how machine learning is used to innovate around call centers, or how companies are able to reach out and have that first interaction with a subscribing customer. How do you lower the barrier of entry of my not even understanding how my billing will function to allowing a customer to simply speak a question to an application or speak a question to their mobile phone and getting not only the answer, but completely solving that customer query that would typically have required them to call in, speak to an actual human, which in the reality of business, that costs time and money. I think what it has jointly done for both PwC and our clients is open up an entire new avenue of approaches to how you could innovate that sort of interaction for your own company and for your customers. So the advice that I would give a customer of ours or a client who is looking to adopt both cloud platform and machine learning is to not be waylaid by the thought that this is overly complex or is too big of something for them to take advantage of, or they need a massive problem to bring to the table in order to get some kind of a benefit. The reality is it's better for you to be specific in terms of what you're trying to obtain, specific in the problem you're trying to approach with cloud platform and machine learning. And through being specific, you will know both the benefit you're going to obtain and you'll have better learnings coming out of the back of that.
From wowing customers to reducing operational costs, the value of machine learning is clear. And as our MIT experts Andrew and Elizabeth suggest, it's to your competitive advantage to get moving now. To start building your ML model today, take a look at Google Cloud Platform's TensorFlow. It powers many Google products, from Google Photos to Google Cloud Speech. Then you can check out Google Cloud Dataflow to perform pre-processing, allowing you to access data from Google Cloud Storage, or Google BigQuery, and other places. And for more hands-on instruction, check out the ML Recipes series on YouTube that Josh mentioned, where you can explore code and best practice examples. But if you'd like to talk to one of our Google data and machine learning experts in person, please let us know. Just visit google.com/cloud and look for the Work With Us button. In closing, if there's anything you've missed, remember, this video will be available on demand following the event. We value your input and have a brief survey so you can tell us what you think. In a few seconds, please follow the directions on your screen to take a survey. We'd love to hear from you about what topics you'd like us to cover at our next event. On behalf of the Google Cloud team, thank you for joining us and stay tuned for future digital events.